Peace and blessings, beloved. Come here to be educated, empowered, enlightened, inspired, motivated, and challenged to be critical and independent thinkers. Let's get to it.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For so many reasons.
I was super ecstatic to win one for Cleveland because of the 52-year drought. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, obviously, I showed that the first wave of emotion was when y'all everyone saw me crying. Like, that was all for 52 years. Everything in sports was going on in Cleveland. And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest player of all time. You know, everybody was just talking how they were the greatest team of all time. Like, they was the greatest team ever assembled. And for us to come back, you know, the way we came back in that fashion, I was like, you did something special. That's probably one of the only times in my career I felt like, oh shit, like you did something special. I haven't really had time to really like sit back and think, but that was a moment.
Crazy.
Peace and blessings, beloved. I pray all is well with you and yours. And welcome to the ID Me video series, LeBron James, Ego and Delusion Edition. Now, we could also call this the King James Edition. King as in kid in need of God. Or we could even call this LL Fool J. But all kidding aside, today we're going to use his latest I'm the GOAT comments as a backdrop to discuss ego and delusion. Now, tied up into that, we'll also discuss insecurity, leadership, and propaganda, as I think all three are in play here and noteworthy. Now, I know what all the LeBron fanboys and apologizers are going to say. You know, he can make whatever comment he wants and he's earned it, and you know, he's been to 9 straight finals or whatever they're throwing there. Fill in the blank with whatever platitudes you want to use. The point is this: what his comments represent tie perfectly into the things we'll cover. And what you'll really see prayerfully by the end of this coverage is a man exposed for what he really is. And again, this is not an anti-LeBron video. This is a pro all of you video, my beloved, so that we can avoid making the same mistakes and falling prey to the same pitfalls. Because remember, we're not only living our life here for the now, but if we're wise, we'll understand that we're living for eternity. And so you make of that what you want. Point being is that whether or not you believe in an afterlife or life after death, quote unquote, the truth is the truth, and it will always be that. And so sit back, relax, get a kick out of what we're going to hear, because right now we're going to play some reactionary clips from the sports media, because you know they no doubt has something to say on this subject. And so what I do as always is let it play, and I'll comment as necessary.
Player in NBA history, LeBron or Jordan? MJ was 6-0 in the finals, but LeBron recently said that bringing the Cavs back from a 3-1 deficit in the 2016 finals against the Warriors made him the greatest of all time. Take a listen.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For so many reasons.
I was super ecstatic to win one.
Chris, is this crazy for LeBron to say?
That's your boy, Chris. He should. Look, he can feel that way, that he's the greatest player. But I'm surprised he said it. I've talked with Michael Jordan, texted with Michael Jordan about, you know, the GOAT conversation, this and that. And Jordan always says you can't compare eras. Now, if anybody could say they're the GOAT, it's Michael Jordan. He's never said it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could say it. He's never said it. I'm not going to kill him for saying it, and I'm going to get to why in a minute, but it's surprising to hear somebody come out and say it. Now, I'm starting to wonder, LeBron has always said, I want to be like Muhammad Ali, you know, and in terms of being a global icon, in terms of his off the court, you know, outside of the sport work, and he's obviously doing great stuff there. But one of the things that makes us feel like Muhammad Ali was the greatest, because, he lost fights and all that, was him saying it over and over again. He told us, I'm the greatest, even when he lost, I'm the greatest. And we bought into it, and he was tremendous. And part of me wonders, is LeBron saying, I'm going to start putting it out there? Because remember he said a few years ago he should be on Mount Rushmore. He said a few years ago, I'm chasing the ghost in Chicago. I'm wondering, does he feel like this is a way to get myself on the top of that discussion? Now, you and I agree, he's not the GOAT. Now, I would challenge LeBron to say, look, if you saying this, he said it, he would be in 2016, which is ridiculous. You can't say Cleveland hadn't won in 52 years. Well, Chicago was a joke of a franchise before Michael Jordan got there.
I'm glad you brought that up.
He turned them into a dynasty, not just one championship. If LeBron, and I don't think he can really pass Michael Jordan. But if you want to do something to make people really think you the GOAT, then go out and lead the Lakers this year.
But this
That's
is
the type of thing to the championship.
Chris, here's the problem. It's not classy. You're not supposed to pat yourself on the back. That's what other people say about you. That's why you've never heard Michael Jordan use that term to describe himself, because that's not what you do. All right? A lot of people call Tom Brady the GOAT. Have you ever heard Tom Brady say he's the GOAT? Of course not. And that's the problem with it. LeBron knows he's not, so he's the one going out trying to, promote himself and put it out there. And the Muhammad Ali comparison doesn't work. Boxing is an individual thing. It's a part of the cell of who you are and the boxing thing. It's not, I'm the greatest. He was saying that before he ever won.
Right.
So that was just do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't after he won the title that he said he was the greatest. He said he was the greatest, period. Before he beat Sonny Liston and whatnot.
Right.
So it's totally different, and LeBron comes off bad when he's the one who has to go around and promote himself and tell everybody that was the moment. He didn't win that by himself. He had other teammates. It's totally...
Kyrie especially.
Kyrie made the big three-point shot to win it and seal the finals. I'm not saying LeBron didn't play well and he had to block before that. Kevin Love was on that team, J.R. Smith. There were other players and other people who also are included. So how could that moment? What about the 6 losses in the NBA Finals? That didn't count? What about those?
I think LeBron is in a place, and it's been entertaining, Shut Up and Dribble, The Shop, More Than an Athlete, which is what this was from, where he feels he can say anything. He really is saying what he wants. And it's good entertainment. I guess it's in the barbershop, you can say whatever you want.
It's called Hollywood. Maybe
but even walking in with the wine into a game, I've never seen anybody walk in a workplace with wine. In any type of workplace other than maybe a winery,
Right.
And so that to me is a person who's like, they feeling themselves, I can do whatever I want. And almost testing the water. How far are people going to let me go, and how much I can do. And we'll see if it works out for him. He's doing some great stuff with all these. We said it. He moved to Hollywood, and he is capitalizing on it. It's great, interesting stuff for us. But, yeah, it's. I think he's gotten there where he thinks he can say anything.
It comes off tacky.
It did feel a little weird, but if anyone can test it, it's LeBron.
All right, beloved. So what we have here is an exchange, which I happen to actually enjoy, between Chris Broussard and Rob Parker regarding LeBron's comments. And so what I'll do is take a few sound bites so we can delve deeper into the root of what they actually were saying. And now, notice even before they got started, the commentator didn't mention anybody other than Michael Jordan or LeBron. And again, it just speaks to the power of the media in creating narratives that often, and some would say mostly, disregard the truth or what is logical, but they rather hone in on and promote the sensational. And so it's imperative that we are aware of this so we don't fall for that okie doke and be misled. Now, getting back to Chris, he says that he can say that, meaning LeBron can say whatever he wants. And then he references communication that he had with Jordan, where Jordan says you can't compare the eras. Then he alludes to Muhammad Ali. It makes a very poignant point about the way that Muhammad Ali used the media and used his reference to himself as the greatest to his advantage. It's a great marketing ploy. It's a great psychological ploy, both to his opponents and to the media. And so I think that was very apropos, because that speaks directly to what LeBron is doing now. Now, of course, the dynamic is totally different, which Rob Parker will get to shortly. But just knowing that Chris was able to make that comparison, I think was apropos. And then he says LeBron goes on to say that he should be on Mount Rushmore. Now again, LeBron is posturing. He knows what time it is, and he knows that it's up to him to write his own future. Now, I don't have any issue in that on its face. Somebody taking their future in their own hands, their destiny in their own hands. However, if one is delusional about who they really are in relation to their environment, then they're not doing themselves any kind of service, but rather a disservice. And what's more is that the statement that Jordan made about not being able to compare eras is indicative of the wisdom and proper perspective that he has on this subject matter. And of course, in this case, we're talking about the history of legendary basketball players. And when you consider the differing eras, you have to consider things like style of play, the existence or lack of certain rules, the difference in technology and advancement in the way players are strengthened and conditioned, and the way they treat their performance attributes, and the way they weight train, the physicality of the game, all kinds of variables that one must consider if you really want to have any semblance of a real conversation around who the greatest of all time is. Now, it's my belief that these arguments, these GOAT arguments, are fun to have, but they have no logical end. And they're actually pointless in the grand scheme of things, because history speaks for itself, as do the numbers. And as I always say, real recognizes real. And so it doesn't matter what a player thinks of his own play, because, again, history will write the story for him. Now, even saying that, as long as a player is pleased with their own contribution to their sport, that should be all that matters. But of course, we know that in a society, and then particularly in a sport, or in just sports period, where it's ego driven and people are often inflated, and they're appealed to and appeased and obliged because they're manipulated for their money generation. They're told all kinds of things that are false, and then they start to believe the hype. And so again, getting back to their comments, the fact that LeBron is publicly admitted to his aspirations of being the greatest sports icon of all time, we should know that this means that he, his business partners, and his corporate handlers have a strategy for getting him there. And this is because all those parties will benefit from it. And so an integral part of that is controlling how LeBron is perceived in the public. And of course, those of us with eyes to see know that LeBron has plants in the media that go out of their way, I mean really, really very much so out of their way, to express their love for LeBron and his greatness, quote unquote, on and off the court. And this is what they do. And this is my opinion, but I'm pretty sure this is rock solid. They cover up for his many flaws, including his losing record in the finals, his poor leadership skills, his defensive deficiency, the fact that players in their prime don't want to play with him, the fact that he doesn't make players better, the fact that he throws his teammates under the bus, and that he does and says what he wants and gets away with it. And then you have people that call him out or expose him for what he really is, being dismissed, discredited, and demonized. And then, I'm not done yet. You have stories that point out LeBron in an unflattering light that are swept under the rug, never to be heard of again. It's like Roswell. And then you have any philanthropic endeavor that he's involved with off the court being magnified exponentially more than the same or even more genuine, impactful efforts of his peers. And then, you can run down a list. I'll just throw out most notably Jalen Rose's Leadership Academy in Detroit. But it's laughably obvious to me that the media's golden boy is LeBron James, and that they use him to generate hundreds of millions of dollars, both for the NBA as well as for the corporate partners, the biggest being Nike, as far as I can tell. And then you have Rob Parker, who calls this move unclassy, and he uses Tom Brady as a reference. You see, people who are secure in themselves aren't in need of the favor of others, and they don't need to be praised or pat on the back to validate or add value to themselves. It's derived from within, and that's my point to all of us, that our value should come from internal factors. We should have a foundation that is firm based on how we see ourselves and not how others see us. And we shouldn't care about their opinion of us, good or bad, because that opinion that they have may and most oftentimes does change. But getting back to Rob, he also says that LeBron knows he's not going to get there, so he's trying to put it out there himself. And he also points out the holes in the Muhammad Ali comparison, because clearly Muhammad Ali was a solo sport athlete, and again, like we alluded to, he used that bravado, that phrase, as a psychological tool for when he actually fought those people in the ring. And then he also used it to market himself. So I guess in that way you could liken it to what LeBron is doing now. But I don't think Muhammad Ali was delusional at all. I think he was very methodical. And I do see LeBron as being methodical in that same way. But he definitely has delusions of grandeur. And then Rob proceeds to further point out and pull every card that one should pull when referring to the 2016 campaign for the Cavaliers. So it's obvious to me that he's not one of the media plants, but that he sees right through LeBron James, and he catches flack for doing so, which is unfortunate but expected. So then you have Chris, to end this segment, point out that LeBron is entertaining, that he's feeling himself, he's pushing boundaries, and he's in Hollywood capitalizing. And so right here, I agree and concur with Chris 100%. And I'll take it a step further. LeBron is entertaining, and that's precisely all he should be for us, because that's exactly what he is, an entertainer. And that's what all these individuals are. We're talking about the athlete, the reporter, the actor, the musician. All of these individuals are in their position to entertain and distract us. And it's up to us to understand that, so that we can place them in their proper category. and keep things in their proper perspective. And then getting back here, what's really dangerous is the fact that LeBron thinks he's above reproach. And it really speaks volumes to the level of insecurity that he has, along with a disregard for the people that he actually does influence. And I say that because his actions are unprofessional, they're defiant, and they're not really those of a man who's truly focused on being a role model for young people, namely young so-called black men. Because if we're very honest, frank, candid, if a young black man is to ever be unprofessional, defiant, unapologetic, and unwilling to capitulate in any way, there are but a few places for him in this world, if you know what I'm talking about. And so it's very obvious to me that LeBron is only concerned with himself. And you know what? That's fine. That's his business. But my point is, we should know that and not give him any more credence than that of an entertainer. Point blank, period. And of course, I think I need to provide a disclaimer, not because I want to back down from anything that I've said, but I just want there to be clarity. I'm not advocating for men to be weak in any way, but actually what I'm doing is challenging them to be strong and to show strength and character and tact, particularly in the face of everything that stands in the way of success and prosperity for them, for us. Because you see, there's strength in seeing the bigger picture, in understanding how to pick and fight your battles. But you know what? That's a topic for another day. Let's stay on topic here. The point is this. See LeBron for who he is and keep it moving. Don't give him undue energy, but rather use that energy to identify, to maximize, to optimize, and to monetize your God-given gifts. That's your charge. That's my challenge to you. And then we have, last but not least, definitely noteworthy, the moderator ends that segment with the following statement. It definitely was weird, but if anyone could test it, meaning those boundaries that Chris Broussard alluded to, LeBron can. And once again, this is just further proof of how the media has a love affair with LeBron. It's very toxic, it's very dangerous, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't see through it, and they're misled and deceived by it.
Shannon over here celebrating while listening.
We all need to celebrate. We all need to celebrate G.O.A.T. Man. G.O.A.T. Man. Yeah, that's him.
Because he says so?
Yeah, don't do that, Skip. Don't do that, Skip, trying to undermine that man's argument.
Is he right?
I didn't need him to tell me that. Tell me what I already know.
You and him, you're the only two.
It ain't over me and him. It's more. More than.
There's some blind witnesses.
Now there's no stop doing that, Skip.
Yep.
And besides, he released this video or it came out on his birthday. Who am I to disagree with a man on his birthday? December 30th.
Today's the day after.
Well, it came out yesterday. So stop it. You know who birthday was yesterday also, Skip? My dog, Tonka Man.
Really? Well, good. Happy birthday, Tonka Man. There you go.
5 years old?
No coincidence that it's born on December 30th.
Really?
Yeah.
Greatest dog ever?
Yeah.
I got one who would disagree with that.
Skip, look. I mean, LeBron's saying this now. Am I surprised that he said this publicly? I'm sure he's stated this on many, many times privately. He and D-Wade or some of his friends, Maverick, Randy, Rich Paul. I'm sure Savannah's probably heard it a million times. I don't.
Now we're getting to the truth.
I don't need to hear. I know it. And I've been saying this because of his body of work. It wasn't one painting. One painting doesn't make you an artist. 1,000 paintings doesn't make you an artist. But doing what he did.
Wait, that's just one little thing.
Don't do that, Skip Bates.
Well, wait, so body of work doesn't matter? 3 and 6 doesn't matter?
Whoa.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to just enjoy it. Because what makes me...
Just sweep all the rest of it under the carpet and enjoy it.
If you don't mind asking, you remember on your old show, who came on your show and said they were going to the parade?
Even when they was down, Jimmy told I said, Skip, I'm going to the parade. You want to go?
And who backtracked at the last second on that prediction?
I didn't feel good.
You backtracked.
I didn't feel good.
You backtracked.
I didn't feel
You
good.
took it back.
But LeBron say, hey, LeBron called me and say, Shay, I got this. Skip, look. You look at his body of work, and I get it now. If
You
you
were
just,
stalking him at that parade. You went up there.
I did.
And he's looking at you like, who
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. We should stop it. Skip, look. I agree with LeBron because doing what he did in the fashion in which he did it. This is a 73-9 team. They had a two-time MVP. The last time he won it, that season was unanimous. And they were down 3-1. No team in NBA Finals history has ever come back from a deficit like this, let alone against this juggernaut. Now, no one thought they could do this. Everybody's like, okay, let's go in the parade. They had already mapped the parade right out. They had already had champagne and everything. LeBron said, nah, bro, I ain't gonna let it happen. Skip, if you look at all the All-Star game appearances, you look at the All-NBA selections, you look at the career, no other player is 28-8-6 for a playoff. He's 27-7-7 for a career. All the triple-doubles. Now, it's the likelihood that who we refer to as the GOAT has won the most titles normally does not happen. Michael Jordan doesn't have the most NBA titles. Whoever we refer to as the GOAT, Babe Ruth or Barry Bonds doesn't have any. And some people refer to him as the GOAT, say that he's the greatest player they've ever seen. He doesn't have any titles. Babe Ruth doesn't have the most. A lot of people
Baseball, completely different than basketball. Only 5 can play. Yeah. And there's no difference between pitchers and hitters. But you can do both.
The reason why I say GOAT James, LeBron's the GOAT. The reason why I hashtag that, GOAT man, the reason why I say LeBron James is the best, because I saw Michael Jordan win the title on a 57-win team Bulls, retire, and they win 55 games. And a horrible Hugh Hollins call away from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I see.
What'd Scotty do?
Hold on, Skip.
Quit on him.
You tried to interrupt me, Skip. I won't let you do it, Skip. I will not let you interrupt me anymore. I'm going to tell you one time. I saw LeBron James leave.
The show over yet, Joe?
No, it's not over yet. We got plenty of time. I saw LeBron James leave Cleveland, Skip.
Yep.
And they get the lottery. I see LeBron James go to Miami. They go to the finals 4 straight times. They win 2. I see him leave, and with 2 Hall of Fame players, they miss the playoffs. Now, I see LeBron go back. They go to 4 more finals. They win 1. He leaves, and now they're the worst team in the NBA. No more questions, Your Honor.
No more questions. I got a bunch of questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I got a bunch of answers to all those
What'd you
questions.
make of the video?
When I first watched this last night, and I don't do this very often, I laughed out loud. And then, in the next wave of emotion, I felt sorry for your man, LeBron
Why you
James.
feeling sorry for the man?
Because there's no law against being publicly delusional, especially when you're sitting with your childhood friends, because none of your childhood friends are going to say, hold on just a second, LeBron. You better pull back on that one because what about? So he's saying that because they pulled off an upset, which in hindsight doesn't look like that big of an upset, that makes you the greatest player ever just because you pulled that off? And I know they had a great regular season record.
73-9.
Yeah. Did they have Kevin Durant? No, they did not. Would you tell me about Draymond went in the parking lot crying after that game?
Yes.
That showed you his character. That exposed his character.
Okay.
And by the way, in the middle of that series, he got suspended for calling LeBron James the B word in the middle of a basketball game.
LeBron took it out on him.
So he called what you say is the GOAT, the B word. Trust me, nobody ever even dared to think of calling Michael Jordan that word. Nobody even dared to let the thought enter the very back of their mind. In the deepest recesses of their psyche, they never thought of Michael as that word. And Draymond openly, loudly, within earshot of the first 5 rows, called him that because Kiki Vandeweghe, the administrator of discipline, heard that word, and that was the end of Draymond for the next game. So, again, it was an upset, but was it really an upset? Because that juggernaut, as you called them, it turns out those 3, to me, are overrated in the postseason. Because let's start with Steph Curry. Has he ever lived up to those 2 MVPs in the postseason? No, he's always come up smaller, much smaller in the postseason than he's played in the regular season.
Well, that first one, Skip, he was unbelievable. He could have easily been the Finals MVP. And this last one. Now, the first 2, Skip, I will give you. The first 2. Now, even though
but the first one, LeBron had them dead to rights. He had them, and that's without Kevin Love and Kyrie. Well, that's one, if you pull that off, well, you can start making a case. Yeah. And in Game 4, I can show you the numbers. You want to talk about coming up small in the King's house? The King came up small. That's the first time they played Golden State. So in this one, in Games 5, 6, and 7, guess what this guy shot? This guy, Steph Curry. Again, he's a 46.
This is about LeBron being the GOAT.
I'm telling you, Steph Curry is way overrated in the postseason. First of all, in the last 3 games, 5, 6, and 7, which they lost to LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, don't underestimate those other 2 guys. Steph Curry had 7 total assists in those games to 12 turnovers. In those last 3 games, he had 7 total assists to 12 turnovers. And if we can just look at Game 7, Steph shot 6 for 19 in his house, 4 for 14 from 3. And he stunk it up in the 4th quarter. And finally, Kyrie said, get out of the way, give me the damn ball because I'll make the shot if all you guys can't. And finally, who closed the deal? Kyrie Irving closed the deal. So don't tell me LeBron didn't have any help. Don't tell me he did it by himself.
All right, so what we have here is the epitome of a fanboy. You know, it's I was going to say it's funny, but it's not really funny. It's borderline creepy the way that Shannon Sharpe rides for LeBron. And it's creepy on many levels. You know, I won't go there. We'll keep it PG. But, you know, I understand he's an entertainer. I understand he has a job to do. He's trying to sell advertisement and get viewership. I got it. And I also understand that he's an entertainer. And that embellishment, drama, and exaggeration are par for the course. They go hand in hand with the entertainment business. But the reason I included this clip is because what Shannon Sharpe represents is the sentiments of many gullible, naive, and misled individuals who actually look to LeBron for inspiration and see him as larger than life. They champion him for many reasons, whether it be for the black thing. You know, he's a young black man, he's rich, he's powerful, he can do whatever he wants, he has a certain swagger. And all of these things are tools that are used to, again, mislead and distract. And it's very deliberate. You know, I'm not trying to take anything away from what LeBron has been able to accomplish in the face of his upbringing. All those things are fine and dandy. It's much more important to me that we understand things in the larger scope. Now, as rich, as wealthy, as quote-unquote powerful as LeBron is, he still has people that he answers to. He's still being used and manipulated. 100%. Now, a lot of it is knowingly and willingly, and then a lot of it's unknowingly and unwittingly. But at the end of the day, the fact still remains that he's being used, he's being manipulated. There's no reason why he should be speaking out on social issues as if he's an authority. And that everyone has a right to their own opinion, of course, obviously. But when you know that your opinion carries weight, you should want to be informed before you speak. Because you know people do hang on everything that you say. It's one of those sacrifices and considerations that you have to make when you are a role model, when you are in the public eye. And so, you know, again, it's dangerous. And it's dangerous because you never want to place any other human being or thing, for that matter, on any kind of pedestal. Because that equates to idol worship, which is a direct offense to God and unhelpful to your spiritual and emotional well-being. Now, certainly you can acknowledge, you can respect, you can admire an individual's God-given gifts as they are materialized, optimized, and monetized. But that's where it should end. That individual was born into sin and given to a fallen nature just like you and me. So it don't matter how much O's they got in the bank, how much power, notoriety, or fame they wield, because those things don't make the individual. They're all man-made, and they are, as such, unreliable and temporal. Now, what we should look to celebrate and worship is our Creator, Yahweh, because He's omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, and He's sovereign over all things. And because He alone has transformative, regenerative, and restorative power, and He being the only one who has that power, nothing else deserves or demands or commands our worship. And it's critical that we know that, because Satan desperately wants us to idolize and worship man, ourselves included, and or material things. This is because he knows that if we devote ourselves to worshiping those things, then that means that we aren't worshiping him. Him meaning God. Once again, my purpose is to enlighten, inform, educate, motivate, challenge, inspire, provoke, evoke all of us to be critical, independent thinkers. That's it. I want us to desire to live upright, righteous lives so that we can maximize on all of the God-given gifts and talents that we've been given and do what God has commanded us to do.
Doug, do you have a problem with LeBron James saying this?
Thinking it, no. Saying it, yeah. I don't think that's something others say about you. I mean, there's an interview that's floating around on social media where Michael Wilbon asked Michael Jordan, this is while Michael Jordan was playing, about, hey, people were saying you're the greatest of all time. And Jordan deflected saying, look, that's disrespectful to guys I never played against, right? Like, I didn't play against Wilt Chamberlain. I didn't play against Jerry West. I didn't play against Bill Russell. So it's great to hear, but I'm really uncomfortable with it. This is like LeBron. I feel like it's almost him pumping himself up. And I'm the greatest, because if he was the greatest then, well, why wasn't he the greatest the next year when the Warriors added Kevin Durant and Durant was better in the second half and hit essentially the series ceiling shot right in his eye? I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking it. I think there's something wrong with saying it. I'm sure there was moments where you thought, I'm the best wide receiver in the league. I'm sure there's moments when you thought, hey, I should be a starter. I should be an all-star in this league. Like when you're hosting a show. Look, man, I get my own show. If Whitlock and Wiley didn't come back, we could do this thing, right?
No doubt about it.
But you don't say it, do you?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I just, as a player, like, there's some things you just don't say and you allow others to say.
Yes.
Everyone, we're all saying he's either the greatest or he's right there under Mike.
Right.
Period. You let us in the media, let players, current players say that. You don't say.
Take photos outward, and now we take them inward, the selfies. And instead of giving praise outward, as Michael Jordan did and all these other guys, we now give it inward. I just wonder if that's what we're going to see going forward from the modern athlete. Or it's all going to be about me. Hey, you guys did nice stuff, but hey, it's all about me.
I think he says it because, I agree with you, because of the generation we live in right now and because of the topics that come up on a daily basis, and it's on everybody's tongue at this point in time about who's the greatest of all time and what have you in those situations. Yes, by that series, by beating the best team ever constructed, by coming back from 3-1 on the best team with the best record in basketball, and by leading the finals in every statistical category, that's why you have the ability to say that. I think MJ was following a protocol of the past, but now with social media and with everything that we have going on right now, people are not afraid to speak about themselves. And if you're the greatest of all time, you have to believe it first.
All right, so with this clip, you have the first gentleman, I think his name is Gottlieb, say that you can think it, but you shouldn't say it. And once again, every man is entitled to think whatever he wants. But it's having control over those thoughts and having the right kind of heart to be able to manage your thoughts that's important. Because even LeBron thinking it is ridiculous. because he knows that it's not true. And so if you understand that, then either he's delusional, narcissistic, egotistical, and or he has an agenda. And so I think it's a little bit of all those things, to be very honest. But then you have Gottlieb referencing the Michael Wilbon and MJ interview, where MJ was asked the same thing about being the GOAT, and his response was that it's disrespectful to guys I never played against, and that he's really uncomfortable with it. And see, that's key. It's key to realize, because once again, the GOAT argument is futile. It makes no sense. And as a competitor in that sport, it's disrespectful, because the guys that preceded him, who made a great impact on the game, should feel some kind of way for this guy who didn't have the killer mentality, who underachieved, in my opinion, to put himself as the greatest of all time above us, particularly when he doesn't have as many championships as we do. And his impact on the game wasn't close to what ours was. We're talking about independent of what the media has trumped up. So anyway, if you get back to the statement, once again, the awareness of MJ to understand that argument speaks to his security, his assuredness, and his confidence. He knows the body of work that he has contributed to the NBA. History has told that story. MJ rarely speaks on being the GOAT or that conversation about who's the GOAT, and he very rarely speaks about his past, period, as far as I understand. Now, I'm not saying that he's innocent and angelic and he's super humble. I mean, we all know his stories about on the court trash talk, and you know how much of a competitor he was, almost psychopathically. So I'm not here to prop up MJ as being this extremely humble, resolute guy. No. What I'm saying is that he has a far wiser perspective on the game of basketball and his place in it. And he has no need for an agenda, because, again, history is already speaking for him. And so it would appear to me that he has no overarching regrets. Of course, you have moments where you would take things back, but all in all, I don't think he has anything to regret or hold his head about. Now, you take LeBron. If he's honest with himself, then he'll tell you that he has a myriad of moments that he'd like to take back, especially knowing how image conscious he is and how obsessed he is with being the GOAT, or being considered the GOAT. Now, absolutely, LeBron is 100% pumping himself up, both for self and also because it bolsters his media profile, and it keeps him in the headlines, which he needs desperately, like a baby in his mom's breast. And then you have Greg Jennings, who very astutely says that there are some things you don't say, you let others say it. And that's because we're all saying it for you. We all say that it's between you and Mike. And so him saying this is very telling, very honest, because the media absolutely projects the propaganda that the GOAT argument should stop with LeBron and MJ, which is actually despicably misleading, supremely uninformed, and blatantly a sign of the existence of LeBron media plants. Because once again, there's no way that you can have that conversation and exclude other eras. We're talking about 2 of maybe 8 or 9 eras. And so once again, you have people with an agenda in order to execute the agenda, see it all the way through, there's propaganda that needs to take place, that needs to be projected, needs to be spewed, needs to be espoused, needs to be repeated, and needs to be projected at every opportunity so that people begin to believe the hype. Now, this next soundbite is very interesting. The gentleman, I didn't catch his name, but he said, we used to take photos outward. Now we take them inward. We're the selfie generation. And so similarly, instead of giving praise outward, we give it to ourselves. And so this is a great assessment on the state of our society writ large right now. And people like LeBron understand this quite well. And they take full advantage of it to put forth that same propaganda because it benefits them. And so you see, in this day and age, nothing is off limits. All types of behavior are welcomed. All types of lifestyles are championed. And as such, there are no consequences for actions. And so it's really open season for whatever you want to be. And whatever you claim to be, you can claim it as though it were already so, and people will believe it. And then you have Dante Jones, who, full disclosure, was a former teammate of LeBron James on the Cavaliers. He references the Warriors, and he uses that old trope of souping up the Warriors team and creating this David and Goliath dynamic so they could further prop up the LeBron James and his heroics. You know, he comes back from a 3-1 deficit all by himself, and you know what I mean? It's really sad when you think about it. Now, he referenced the stat line. The numbers are the numbers, but it doesn't tell the whole story. LeBron doesn't win that series without the contribution of his teammates and the missing players on the Warriors. Period. And he also mentions that both MJ and LeBron are, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, are casualties of their generations. And he alluded to the fact that MJ was only gracious because that was the tone of the era in which he lived, and not because he's being sincere. And so while I won't postulate what MJ really thinks, that's beside the point. Because with his statement, that tells me he has an understanding, he has clarity, and he has a level of clarity and understanding that LeBron doesn't have. Now, again, LeBron knows he's not the GOAT, so he has clarity in that regard, but he doesn't have the same level that MJ has. And then Dante makes a really ridiculous statement that in order to believe the greatest, in order to be the greatest, you have to believe it yourself first. And it's ridiculous because it doesn't matter what you believe if we're talking about other people's opinion of you. Their opinion's going to be their opinion. And so whatever you believe about yourself has no bearing on what their opinion of you is, unless we're talking about them willfully manipulating and misleading you. But just to say that I can think that I'm the greatest first because I have to in order for you to believe it is ridiculous. Because nobody that really understands the game of basketball believes that he's the GOAT. Only fanboys, only worshipers, no one else. And what it really does, it really takes away any credence that the reporter or that anybody who espouses that has. Because you can see right through it that people go to any length they can to defend LeBron. Now, I'll give them this. They are supremely loyal. Now, I don't know if they're being paid. I don't know what the trade-off is. But these individuals are diehards. They are day one, A1, straight up for this dude, man. And it's like watching Three Stooges or a Charlie Chaplin movie. It's just very slapsticky. It's it's very Jim Carrey like. You don't take it seriously. You just sit and laugh because it's quite humorous. It is humorous. It is entertaining, but it's annoying. And the reason that I even covered this is because it annoys me to no end how many people are sipping this Kool-Aid and are a danger to themselves because of it, because of this worship of this guy. I mean, he's supremely disingenuous, and my fear is that he's leading millions of people astray. And it's very unfortunate. And that's the main issue that I have with this gentleman. He can live whatever kind of life he wants to live. That's his business. But it's also my business to make sure that we understand who he is so we can properly navigate and interact with him. At the end of the day, real recognizes real, and fake for that matter. To me, LeBron is a quick study. And anyone with any level of enlightenment can see that he's a victim of circumstances and also a creation of a greedy, corrupt society that could care less about the individual's spiritual well-being, but rather only loves the almighty dollar. And so I'm convinced that no one has ever sat LeBron down and actually kept it 100 with him. Now, of course, at this point, it's probably too late. So it is what it is, but that's just my belief. But having said that, as always, my focus is on you, beloved. And so I pray that this has resonated with you and that you've gleaned all that God has for you in hopes that you avoid being duped and deceived by the world. Now, I know it may be difficult to understand my position, seeing as how LeBron seemingly lives the life that most would kill for. But the fact of the matter is that true treasure has nothing to do with possession or the opinion of man, but rather with our Creator and what He desires for our lives, both now and after we drop these robes of flesh. And it's funny, I recently heard the question being raised, I believe it was on NBA TV, one of their programs, but the question was raised of whether or not the NBA is ready for life after LeBron. And I think that's laughable at best. I won't say what it is at worst. But to me, the real question should be whether or not the media is ready for life after LeBron. But even as I say that, I'm sure the media will cover him once he's done playing, probably even more so. But back to the NBA. In my opinion, they've been ready for life after LeBron for years. And I think the game's in great hands. He's no longer the same dominant force that he has been. And of course, things will begin to become painfully clear about his true nature as Father Time gets the upper hand, as he always does. Alright, beloved, so I think we've covered every base necessary for this topic. As always, it's my prayer that this resonates with you and that you now have a more clear understanding of who LeBron is, his relationship with the media, and most importantly, the importance of keeping him in his proper place as an entertainer while you focus your energy on your own God-given gifts and talents. So until next time, be blessed and be a blessing.